Hey guys, welcome back to Rolaids Bench, just after Christmas. This is Roland, and finally getting back into just a little bit of videoing again. Wanted to share some of my research into the scopeless idea of digital night vision. Just a few brief things before I start showing you what I've came up with so far. I'm going to call this the 3.0, the Rolaids Night Vision 3.0. And for some of you who are watching this and some different questions that came up, I've got a 1.0, 1.5, a 2.0, now a 3.0, 4 different so-called builds. I'm just numbering them so we have something to discuss about. They're all variations built on a lot of research to determine that the best entry-level night vision camera was the EJ230, which you'll see there's some videos of that, search for them. That camera is just a good base unit to do numerous things with. Through a few of you, and you know who you are, who prompted me to push a little bit into how can we make this a scopeless version. So I'm going to say a cheaper version of what some people are doing with a Wattec, save a little money, and we get to put crosshairs with it. Some cool features. I started digging into that and I've came up with something I'm fairly pleased with. I actually took it hunting a few nights ago with a few friends. Shot 487 starlings. A couple of them were, I think one was a pigeon, one was a sparrow, but had a good time hunting. A few things that you will see in this version. Remember, again, these versions aren't necessarily getting better, they're just different. The 1.0 is my main base build, which is a nice slick way to mount the camera to the back of the scope. The 1.5, if you have a compact scope that you can't use the rail system, use that. The 2.0 is featuring the goggles. Look at that, that's just showing you a different way to view the same camera setup, whether you use it on the 1 or 1.5. This is the 3.0, and we're going to be taking the same camera, the EJ230, that is using an EFIO-E chip, which is one of the best combinations of cost, low light capabilities, or good IR detection, and quality. It's almost HD quality. Some of you have been asking about HD quality, and how about this camera, how about this camera? Most of the HD cameras that are out there aren't good for low light. So enough said. After lots of research, we're still on the EJ230. A few things you get to do with this. You have the ability, with a little bit of tweaking, to have 8 different lines that you can make your own reticle with. You can sight it in. I'll be showing you that in this video. You can take and make these reticle lines, sight that in, and now instead of this normal circular scope view that we're all used to seeing when we mount a camera behind the scope, by going scopeless you get the full camera view. So now you're taking your full 4x3 format and seeing the full view with your thin reticle made up of using privacy filters. It has worked really well. I have tried to take a very reasonably low cost lens that would go with it. Did a decent amount of research, and this just is my top choice for under $100 lens to work well, and I'll show you more about that in a little bit. This will probably be a little bit longer video. I want to detail the whys that I've done what I've done. Let's take a look at the rig and see what you think and dig a little deeper. This is the naked, bare bones, scopeless digital night vision rig. We've got a couple 30mm mounts. We've got the EJ230 between them, holding what I'll show you a little bit in a little bit of the breakdown, which is an adapter that actually allows you to put a CS lens on it. We had to mill the face of the camera off, and I will show you some of that. We have now got this lens on here, and I have a focus adjustment. So this knob right here you would use just like your adjustable objective for yardage focus. We would keep the near and far I've learned that you have to keep that locked in. You cannot, again, you cannot change the zoom on a rig like this. The reason why is because optically, where your crosshairs is in comparison, you will not keep your focus the same way a normal scope would. So you must keep the zoom locked at whatever zoom level you choose. Right now I've got this lens at which is approximately a 7 to 7.5. With this combination, it's got about a 7 to 7.5 times like a scope would be, and so I've got it zoomed all the way in. I could go to wide angle, but again, I don't want to mess with that. On the other side of this, we also have an iris adjustment, which in general you can leave this wide open, but I will show you a little detail about how that using this or a couple camera features on the back of the camera can take care of a lot of your washout for those that are having issues with IR light washing out. So this is the bare bones rig. Let's go ahead and stack on a few items. Alright, you see here on my P-rod I've mounted this up on the front rail. This rail stays here because when I pop this off I can put my day scope back on. Couple little choices with using this right here. I can put an IR. My favorite for short range into the 50-yard is the Pulsar 940. That can go in any one of these positions. Same way with this small 850 Streamlight, which will easily go out to, with this rig, 200 yards, very easy. I'll show you how my setup was the other night. There goes the Streamlight. So roughly, this is the setup that I had the other night. Had my LCD screen. We had a few people shooting. Worked excellent. Yeah, it looks like I'm loaded for bear. Actually, here's the deal. It's a full moon tonight, and we've got a lot of snow. So my range is a little bit messed up. I want you to see how awesome this looks at night with a full moon and snow. Full moon is slightly covered with just a little thin cloud, but mostly shining through, kind of a haze. I've already been out there. It's just like daylight. So I'm going to record a few shots of my DVR with this, no IR. Then I'm going to use the 940 IR and the 850, and then show you a little bit about blowing out, be a good night for that, and how to adjust it by either using the manual iris right here or by making a few adjustments on the camera. And through this you'll see a little bit how it works, understand a little bit more about the EJ230 and this whole scopeless idea. Let's go outside. Alright guys, out here at the range, no IR, full moon with a little bit of haze and snow. So 15 yards. 25 yards, the moose is half buried with snow. I'm going to tweak my focus just a little bit here. $50 yards. There's 100. That's our swan. That's kind of a half of a snow lump. 125 and 150. Now visibility is incredible. This is way down the field. That's about 600 yards to that tree line there. And this DVR doesn't record as well as what we can see with the LCDs. So just a little bit of IR talk. We're at 25 yards, full moon, snow. That's the only light we're getting. So we're getting the whole gamut of whatever the moon is reflecting to us, both in natural and IR light. My focus is set for the natural lighting, and I'm not using a lens that is IR corrected. That can actually cut a little bit of your light intake a little. So this is with the 940 on. Now you're starting to see some fuzz. People have wondered sometimes when you get a mix of IR light and natural light, and if you don't have enough IR light to overpower it, you're going to get
this kind of look. You got two different focus settings, kind of, one for the IR light and one for the natural light. So you can try to overcome that and try to go like right in here just for the 940 light. But that moose is, in some ways I can see it better, in some ways not. So we'll click off the 940. Now you can see how much out of focus we are for natural light. I'll go back to the natural light focus. There's our moose. Okay, right there's our moose. And now I'm going to click on the 850 IR. Again, we're out of focus, so I'm going to refocus for the 850 IR. And now you can see I'm extra bright. So you can see that we're a little blown out. So now, because this lens has a manual iris, I'm going to show you what that does. So I'm stopping down, or you might say I'm closing off so I get less light gradually here, which then begins to bring some detail in to the picture, sharpening a few things up, and you can vary that all the way to nothing and back to wide open. You see the camera slightly adjust itself. Again, with this manual iris, I can change that to get detail from nothing to wide open. Now, maybe you don't have a lens like that. Maybe you don't get something with a manual iris on there. We'll talk about lenses in just a little bit. I want to show you, though, how the EJ230 can actually be changed here. Up in the shutter, you can go to the brightness mode, and you can go all the way down to 0 and start bumping it up. So if you've got an IR that's too bright, like right now, even without an iris, the mode on this without a manual iris, the mode on this camera actually allows you to tweak this to find that setting that's just right. Pretty awesome, actually. So for those of you that are struggling with IRs, making whiteout spots and so forth, this can really fine-tune that in. So even if you're at short range and you're using an IR that's a little too bright, tweak your camera a little bit and just enjoy your hunting. I naturally keep this set right up in that 20 to 30. I think I had it on a 32. I've noticed that when you go to the high end, there isn't a lot of difference. Once you get right into this realm for the night vision aspect, that's kind of the normal setting, and that's what works really well for me. And now just a quick thought on the reticle that you're seeing there. That reticle is created with privacy filters, and tomorrow in the daylight we will sight in, and I'll show you how to shoot, find your spot, and adjust your reticle to there.
Welcome to Ohio winter. It's the next day, getting ready to show you how to sight in the OSD privacy lines on this scopeless rig. We'll be starting with where I am now. I've actually moved the scope so I know it's off from where I was shooting. We'll take a shot at this target out at 15 yards, and after we take that shot, we'll then adjust the lines to the new point of impact, take a couple more shots down here and see how we do. Pretty cool.
Alright, here we go. Take one more shot. So you can see them two shots went over to the right. Now because I just purposely moved my scope off, it's going to make my vertical line quite a bit to the right. But for the purpose of this example, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how this moves. Technically, I would spend a little time shimming so that I could bring my general center point back in line so that my reticle is closer to the center of my screen. So we're going into the OSD. We're going to go down to next, privacy. Now we have actually found a way to make 8 privacy fields. It originally has 4, and I'm going to show you how I got 8. If you go back to motion detection, the tech guy that I've been working with from KT&C, who has tried to see if we could actually rewrite the firmware to add more, found this workaround. We turn motion detection on, which we just did, that was there, it's on. We go down and make sure that the block display off, monitor area off. When the monitor area is off, we now get to use 8 privacy areas. So motion detection on, go in there, once again, block display off, monitor area off. Now when I go over to the privacy right here, I now have 8 areas to use. That allows us to put more lines in for some kind of mill dots. Right now though, we need to side in, so I don't want to mess with them lines. I got the 2 main reticle here, so we are going to move this right. You can see right there is where I'm on. Right here is where I need to be. So it's as simple as moving the right side like this over. That was extra far. Let's go a little slower here. Okay, I'm getting closer there. So now I can look at that ball. I can even come down here where I can see it easier. There's no lines. And I need to go just a little further. Where I was to where I should be. And that's pretty close right there. I try to split the center of my group and split the center there, make sure the line is just followed on both. So now I'll move the left side. You can see I'm at 298 on the right. I want to be at 297 on the left. So 97. So now the left and right is done. As you can see up and down, if I go over here to the side, there's a little bit of up and down distance there. So we'll go up to area number 2. I'm going to move the bottom since I need to go down. Again, I shot there and my point of impact is slightly lower. So I need to move the bottom down just a little bit. I can do that off to the side like this so I can see what I'm doing. Somewhere in there. So then I go back up to the top and move it from 151 to 155. That's a 1 pixel width. Now I want to make sure I save. So I come all the way down, exit, save all. If you don't do that and the camera gets powered off, you're going to lose your reticle. Now I exit. And let's take a few more shots here and see if we're on. Now we can see in the camera I'm a little low and to the right still. So, again, I can just go back in and just tweak that a pixel or 2 at a time now. So I'm going to go in, back into privacy, and I'm going to move on area 1. I'm going to go right. I want to try 2 pixels more right, because I have noticed that you have more pixels. You don't move the line as much when you go left and right as you do up and down. There's like a finer space between pixels on the left and right motion than there is in the up and down. So I'm going to move, then I'll move the right to 299. I'll go back up to the top, and I want to move that down. So I want to move the bottom to down to like a, I'm going to try 57. There's not, that's probably about right. I'll just move 1 pixel now on the bottom. I'm going to hit return. Make sure that I save all. exit, and let's shoot our smaller dots and see what we come up with.
Alright, so you just seen how simple it was to do our side in. I moved the scope so I knew it was out. We put the crosshairs where it was right here, shot to the right. We adjusted the one edge over, then brought the other edge over to it, so now this crosshair was at a new position to the point of impact. We also adjusted down just a little bit, and we arrived slightly to the right. I adjusted it just a little bit more, shot right underneath the center and a little bit over here. My fingers were getting kind of stiff from the cold and I wasn't shooting as well. Just wanted to show you the direction that this, the simplicity I should say, that this camera can be so easily adjusted. As I mentioned, you can make 6 more different lines you can use for mil dots. Below, above, right and left, you can make that any direction you want, short little lines or almost a dot, so to speak. I recommend you play with that once you get it sighted, once you get your main crosshair sighted in. A couple things to say again: the quality that I'm recording at doesn't show as well as what it does, especially on the simple little LCD screen 4.3 inch that most of us use. The quality on here definitely better than on here, and if you use the goggles like my 2.0 series shows, even better quality in that. I like to disassemble this now so that you can see the way the parts were put together. Okay, here we are. Parts couldn't have been much simpler. These rings right here that I'm actually using are a 30 mil ring that actually have their own reducer in it. They're a very inexpensive ring. Has a reducer so it can go down to 1 inch. I still needed to wrap a little tape around that to fit that in. Or you could just use a straight 30 millimeter ring like these right here that I've also tried, and you just need more tape on the back end of the camera. The cool thing is what we had to do here, or how simple this was to mount. So we're using a larger CS lens on the front of the bullet camera, which usually takes a lens that's designed for the board camera, which is a S-type lens. So this CS lens has an adapter from Edmund Optics. That link is going to be updated in my Excel spreadsheet. And right here you go. It's a simple female thread for the CS. That lens then is adapted to have the same threads as a normal board lens. Now here is what had to happen. We actually had to get the focal length correct for this lens. The camera, the bullet camera, originally looked like this. So here is the face. Both of these lenses have tape on them for the way I'm mounting them in. Needed a little filler, but here is the original threads so that the cap could go over the EJ230. We did have to mill this down the exact thickness of this ring right here. That then placed, if we screwed that on here, the lens was too far out and we wasn't at the correct distance for the focal plane. So by milling that back the exact distance of this additional adapter, we were able to screw this on and come up with a CS lens that's actually made for a 1/2 inch camera onto a 1/3 inch chip. One of the reasons why I chose this Fujinon lens, which for a couple of reasons. It's under $100. It's in the $70 realm. So with this camera, this lens, and this adapter, you're roughly in the $225 to $250, depending on shipment and so forth. This adapter is around 50 some dollars. So this whole combo you've made your whole digital scope for under $300 by the time you get a couple rings. Pretty awesome setup. The other reason I picked this specific lens, it was one of the few that was easily available that I could go from 7 to 70 millimeters. Now at 70 millimeter, which is I have it roughly locked in on the wide to telephoto, is roughly 7 to 7.5 times scope focus, and that's roughly what I like to shoot on this gun. I did try a 50 millimeter lens. Now I want to tell you why that doesn't work in this little video clip. In sighting this in, I have found the thing that I figured would probably be a problem. I want to show it to you. I was tweaking the focus a little bit, and I want you to see the target there on the screen move in comparison to the reticle. Quite a bit of difference. So again, it's what we kind of all know, is that optics movement has got to be locked in. So how would I wrap up this little journey of attempting a scopeless night vision rig with the EJ230 camera? Well, for starters, I really don't think there is a more cost-effective way to do a scopeless rig out there than this setup. It's awesome that the crosshairs are built in here. Looking on some of the UK forums, and some bloke, thanks for your input with the Watec with the crosshair generator. I really do want to look into that more. Wanted to play with that some more, but here's the downside, is we're getting ready to go west for about 3 months. And so my 14-year-old boy can do some snowboarding lessons, and I won't have all this fun stuff to play with. So until spring, this is about wrapping up my abilities to dig in and play and tinker each day. When spring comes around, if everything works out, I'd like to do a Watec setup with trying to get a nice lens, the best camera that they've got available at that point, and so kind of do like a top end build. So for this end, I think we have addressed a few things. We've got the cost way down. You've got a $100 camera, roughly $50 adapter, and a $70-some lens. All this together, you can build your own scopeless digital night vision rig. Or you can pay $100 or $1,400 and get the Pulsar set up. I don't think I would yet. There's too much fun to be had. So would I spend the money on a pre-built digital night vision like the Pulsar or something else? $1,400 realm? I don't think I would. Not when a little bit of work. Yes, I did have to find a friend to mill this camera down so it would take this adapter. That's the only thing that I had to do. Everything else is off-the-shelf parts. And under $300, I've got the whole camera scope set up with a reticle, and I can customize the reticle with up to 6, how many numbers? 6 more mil dots. I have plenty of money left for my favorite glasses to view in high quality. A spotter cam, 200, here's another 100, 300. An IR setup so that I now have IR all the time for my spotter cam. And an IR setup for this cam setup. What are the cons? That's some pros. Now what's the cons of this? Here's a couple potential cons you may run into. If you don't have the money to put into another lens and or don't have a friend to do this, really the way the original build works with the EJ230 behind a scope, really works very well. The advantage to that is I can pop that whole rig onto different guns. I've been maybe using them for a daytime use. They're already sighted in. So I pop that camera behind it. I know where I'm shooting on that scope and on the mil dots and the way that gun is set up. Whereas with this rig, it has a potential to need to have the scope removed depending on your setup. You're going to have to re-sight this thing in. You have a few things like that that are just come along with getting a dedicated scope on that. So I hope this video here has helped any of you guys that are interested in a scopeless rig, help you make some decisions, give you more feedback, especially how well the EJ230 does work for this setup. I really wish I could finish and go right into a Watec build and try to do a high-end scopeless rig using that crosshair generator. But the next few months, probably won't hear a lot from me. I'll be posting a few other little videos as I'm out there and I get time to work on them. But as far as digging in and playing some more, it's going to have to wait till spring. So I'm going to miss this stuff. But hey, I'm going to be out in the Rocky Mountains right south of Glacier National Park watching my son learn how to do snowboarding tricks freestyle. That'll be fun. Have a good winter, guys. Take care.